Brothers and sisters, welcome to a brand new series here on the channel where I, Nick Davis, become your resident F1 team principal in F1 Manager 22. As the resident F1 enthusiast on the channel, it fell to me to take over somewhat of a fallen giant of the sport. So, welcome to this new series, welcome brothers and sisters, and most importantly, welcome to Williams.
Williams is a legendary name in F1, winning 9 Constructors' Championships in their heyday. The Williams family sold the team in 2020, and the 2021 season saw them fighting well from start to end. They finished 8th overall, thanks to some incredible performances by George Russell in his last year as a Williams driver. In 2022, Williams have Nicholas Latifi and new signing Alex Albon, returning to F1 after a year away to make up their driver team. The pressure is on for them to up their performance this season and push their way back towards those midfield places.
So yes, welcome to our brand new series where I will be taking Williams Racing, F1, one of F1's most prestigious teams in the past, to a whole new level, and trying to bring them back to the World Drivers' Championship contenders and the Constructors' Championship contenders that they once were in the past. It's been a long, almost fall from grace for Williams. They've had ups and downs throughout the years, with a good spell, I'd say about, was it maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, with the likes of Valtteri Bottas and Felipe Massa, kind of when they were last challenging for regular podiums. And since then, it's been a slow descent towards the back of the field with questionable driver choices and just kind of willowing away at the back and kind of nothing there for them. So hopefully this series will see me take over the team, become a legendary F1 team principal like I always knew I could be, and hopefully see Williams back on the top step of the podium and overall the championship in the future. So it's important to say at the start of this, we will not be doing every race live in the series. We'll maybe come back every so often for the big races, or races I feel like where we'll have a lot of upgrades coming in, and just races that are deemed kind of quite important to F1 in general. So we'll start the series. I have a fair bit of admin I know I need to do if I'm playing F1 Manager in a separate save game as Ferrari, and know there's quite a lot to do before you even get to the first race. So I will join you again kind of to talk about some of the stuff I have set up and I've been looking into for the future. So I've gone forward about a week maybe in game, yeah, about 6 days. So I have done a lot of admin work already, and I've got the preseason testing results say, and yeah, they're not good is probably the best way of describing it. So look, our car is easily the worst car on the grid in most respects. Like, we have 19th and 20th top speed, acceleration. Our cornering is maybe better at medium to high speeds. I imagine the team we're better than is probably Aston Martin, but still 17th is kind of god-awful. But we're working on that. So I've done a couple of things in the meantime. First off, I'll say I have started work on new parts, or designing new parts. So at Williams here, because of the facility levels, I can have up to 2 design and research stuff. So I've already got to work on putting a lot of my engineer, or all my engineers, and a lot of our wind tunnel and things like that time towards designing a new underfloor and a new rear wing to help with some of the major problem areas of the car. And that takes up a lot of the time, so we're not going to see the fruits of that labor probably until, what's that, 30-40 days. So god, you're probably talking the 3rd, maybe 4th race. So that's fine. The other thing that we need to talk about, which any fan of F1 is probably aware of, is the Nicholas Latifi situation. So Nicholas Latifi is widely considered, probably by the majority of F1 fans, the worst driver currently on the grid by a decent margin. I think he is, for a bottom of the table team, he's fine, and I know that he brings a lot of money to Williams in terms of his personal sponsorship. So in real life, I understand why he's there. In the game though, personal sponsorships are not a thing. So he's just kind of taking up a space. But I do kind of want to try and keep this as realistic as possible, and To that end, I will be keeping Latifi for at least one season. His contract is up at the end of the season. I'm not renewing it, I'll tell you that much. But he'll not be here next season, which means I need to start looking at other drivers. The first one of those is already in the team. It's Jack Aitken. He is the Williams reserve driver, and I do plan on giving him every FP1 session in place of Nicholas Latifi, because I just think it'd be better to start developing him just in case we decide to put him in the seat next season. So that's fine. He'll come in, he'll do F1, and hopefully that gives him a good few developmental points and that'll boost his rating. Granted, his growth potential is only average, so I'm not that optimistic that he'll be F1 ready at the end of the season, but we don't know. I've also started scouting 2 other drivers. Oscar Piastri, who a lot of people will know of if you keep up with current F1 news due to his ongoing contract situation. He is seen by many in real life to be the next breakout star of the sport. So we're scouting him. He is only a reserve driver in this for Alpine, so once I scout him and kind of know what his contract situation is and how much it would be to potentially break that contract, he's an option for next season. The other driver I'm currently scouting is Logan Sargent. He's also linked with Williams in real life. I don't know if I think he's a Williams Academy driver, so he would be fitting. He'd be quite fitting to pull into the team for next season. He doesn't start as well off as someone like Piastri. Like Piastri, I think starts like a whole 5 overall rating better than him, and Sargent is a year older, so there's issues there maybe. But he could be a lot cheaper. He will be coming from F2 in the game rather than F1, so his contract will likely be a lot cheaper to break if I do need to break it. And Williams is not exactly flush with cash, so he is a good option. I only have 2 scouts at the minute to do scouting, but I do have a short list kind of other drivers, one of them being Theo Pourchaire, another F2 prospect who's kind of breaking through at the minute. Could be a very good option if I don't think the other 2 are maybe suitable. He's very young, so he's 18, younger than both the other drivers, and he would be very, very good. His growth would probably be very good. Maybe not to put in the car straight away, but it's still an option. And the other one I'm looking at is Jack Doohan. He's another Alpine Academy driver. Again, still quite young, so again, an F2, so contract shouldn't be much of an issue. And he will have that growth potential. I'll get scouting them whenever I get the scouts freed up from Sargent and Piastri, but for now, that's kind of my short list. And then the other thing, the final other part of this I have been doing is investing in upgrading our facility. So Williams' facility doesn't start that great. It's pretty poor by all stretch of the imaginations, but I've picked a couple of things to get upgraded. So I've started upgrading the race simulator, which will be handy because it gives us more driver's experience every week. Naturally, that'll just build up, which will be really nice, especially as we bring in younger drivers, and especially if we want to try and get Jack Aitken up to a better level. I'm upgrading the team hub because that helps the staff level up and it just keeps everyone's morale a bit up. And then I'm upgrading the design center, which gives us more engineers, which will help if I'm really trying to actively build this car up. And finally, I'm upgrading the tour center, which is just a nice source of kind of weekly income, which, as I said, Williams doesn't start with a lot of money. I've spent about half of it already. I don't want to go too low because I know I still need to manufacture cars or parts and stuff, so we'll get there. But I think that's kind of all the admin stuff I need to do, so I'll cut forward to the start of free practice 1 and I'll go through kind of what I'm going to do for in terms of race setup and how I'm going to handle stuff like free practice in the future.
Welcome to the archipelago of Formula One. Bahrain might have a small land footprint, but it's showing its big spirit right now in the grandstands. Either way, it's time for another fantastic weekend of Grand Prix racing. The Bahrain International Circuit is a challenging track, and the cars routinely have to brake from high gear to low to take the narrow turns. With the need for downhill braking, the risk of locking up is one drivers will need to manage. It's all about focus and balance to get victory here. At this early stage in the season, there are still plenty of opportunities for things to change. In this sport, there simply are no guarantees. Let the weekend begin!
Thank you, Crofty, for that rousing introduction. So I'm ready. I'm set up for free practice. As you can see, I am going to replace Aitken, or I'm going to replace the TV with Aitken for every free practice session, because reserve drivers get bonus experience if they take part in practice 1. So that'll be a good chance for him to just kind of slowly build up experience for the rest of the season. I'll stick with Albon because I want Albon to, because Albon will be our best performer, so I want to get his track acclimatation and all that stuff up as high as possible. Latifi is dispensable. Which sounds really mean to say, but it's just the way things are. I don't plan on micromanaging practice or anything. I'm just going to sim straight to qualifying. Because, one, I think it's boring. And two, it wouldn't be fun to watch me just being like, car goes out, I fiddle with the setup. Car goes out, I fiddle with the setup. I'm just going to let the game do it. I've done this before. This is what I've been doing with my Ferrari save. It seems to work out with Ferrari. I know Williams is a very different beast to Ferrari, but life's too short. So that is all 3 practice sessions done. In P1 we had Max Verstappen followed by Leclerc and Perez, as you would kind of expect in both this and real life. Those make up the top 3 and will probably make up the top 3 for the rest of the season. As for ourselves, for P1 we were down in 18th and 19th, or 18th and 20th, sorry, which Jack Aiken was very off the pace, but again, we kind of expected that would be we kind of knew that would be the case. And for Albon, he is ahead of Lance Stroll and battling it out with Vettel at the rear end of the pack, which to be expected. So again, practice 2, Leclerc signs Verstappen, us back down in 19th and 20th. And in P3, Leclerc signs Verstappen and us again down 19th and 20th. So not looking great, but kind of exactly what I expected. And I know I'm not expecting us to get a Q1 by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm not expecting this race to be particularly exciting as we probably drive around the back of the pack. But at the end of the day, that's what I knew I was getting into for this. So I can't be annoyed about it. Hopefully the first race hopefully won't be too boring, because I know, or this first episode hopefully won't be too boring, because I know that a lot of it will be the admin stuff. But if I'm fast forwarding at 16 times speed to watch Latifi and Albon sit at the back of the grid, so be it. So Q1, I want to get out early. I want to make sure, because blocking is such a major issue in this game so far, as I've established. So let's send out Latifi first, get our nice wee cutscene here. And Latifi will go wide, put in a nice wee lap hopefully, and I'll send out Albon now just shortly behind him. So we are following Latifi right now as he starts his first flying lap of Q1, and the first flying lap for us of this new series. I'm very excited by this. I've been wanting to do a solo series, much like Hanson's Notorious Pro Wrestling, for a while, and kind of set my sights on doing F1 Manager from the time it was announced. I love F1. It's been a lifelong passion of mine. Well, maybe not lifelong, but at least the last 15 years. I think I started watching in 2007, and yeah, I'm very excited. So Latifi's going out here. He's got 2 AlphaTauris in front of him. I don't think he'll be catching them, so I don't need to worry about being blocked. I know one of them, which I think Gasly, is on a hot lap, so that'll be okay. And even if we do catch the AlphaTauris, I don't think we'll catch them in a position where they could block us too badly. But Latifi has got a 27.8 for his first sector. Albon's only getting a 30. Jesus, did he get blocked? Is there someone ahead of Albon? Was Albon blocked there? Albon might have been blocked by someone, but those McLarens seem very far back to be the ones that blocked him. And Latifi did get blocked there. That's a bit unfortunate on our part. So this may be a complete wash already. Yeah, Latifi lost about 9/10 of a second to Albon there in that middle sector, which is unfortunate. So I know this will probably be a 19th and 20th, but let's see what Latifi can do here. Latifi puts in a 1. No, where's the right one? Where's the? There we go. 134.7 and Albon with a 135.9. Albon can definitely do better than that. Latifi, that might be his cap. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, their final sectors were quite similar, so if Albon takes off that 3 seconds, that puts him on a 32.9, which is a competitive time, but maybe not the best still. But we'll see how that goes. We'll get them back to the pits. We'll put on new soft tires, and we'll see maybe... Knowing that we're not likely to get into Q2, I might actually try and sneak in 3 flying laps here. Albon's flying lap. Completely clear track ahead of him. I think Latifi has a completely clear track as well. So this should be 2 representative times at least, and then we'll know what we're going into for when we do our final run. Obviously, Verstappen hasn't done a run yet, which is kind of shocking. Oh, he's... Right, Verstappen is starting his run now as well, so... I know they are fast, but I don't think they'll be fast enough to catch us. So yeah, that's already much better by Albon. That's 3 seconds off his time. And again, Latifi's even managed to go faster, so that's quite helpful. But 3 seconds off Albon's time, like, we'll put him fairly high up the grid, like 3 seconds off Albon's time. If he can keep it at this, we'll probably put him around 7th or 8th. 8th or 9th, maybe? If he can keep this pace up. Just needs to make sure he keeps going green in all these sectors, which would be ideal. Alright, he goes green again, which is good. Does Nicholas manage to go green again? Hopefully on a clear track he does. He is a 10th slower than Albon in both sectors, roughly. And Albon coming onto the pit straight. Just a straight shot to the line to see where he finishes. Hopefully aiming around this 9th, 10, 11 for this time. Yes, okay, so he does 33.4, which puts him 11th, which is very good. That's really handy for us. I think that's quite good. When the TV does a 133.9, half a second off Albon, which puts him 15th. So out of the drop zone for now, which is nice. But yeah, I imagine the likes of Leclerc and Tsunoda likely had laps where they were being blocked, so they are due to improve. But Albon's 33.4 might actually be enough to keep him in it. Or at least it's a good representative time if he doesn't get a clean lap in. Williams do have the advantage that they are like the last team on the pit lane, so they can... I need Albon to get out here. Come on. Oh my god, Albon's not going to get out. Do not tell me he's going to end up being like last here. Oh my god, guys. Get him out. Come on. Come on. Oh my god, Albon has still not left his box. Come on, there's a gap there. Go. What are you doing? Oh my fucking god. Jesus. That took so long. Okay. That was less than ideal for Albon. He'll still get around, no problem, but that took a long time to get out of the garage. Alright, so this is Albon starting his final flying lap of the session. He'll not catch that Aston in front of him. I think behind him is an Alfa Romeo, but can't see that Alfa being a pain in our ass. Latifi goes yellow in the first sector, so he's not going faster, unfortunately. Don't think he was held up or anything. I think he's just not put in as good a lap. Let's see what Albon does in the first sector, which I think is about here, the timing line. He goes yellow as well. That's not too bad because I don't think I think he had 27.4 maybe in that first run, or that best run of his, so that's not too bad. The TV doesn't go faster in the second sector either. I wonder if Albon will. If not, then we may just have to hope that the other drivers around us don't improve either. Oh, we have Magnussen getting a grid penalty here? I wonder what that was for. Alright, Latifi doesn't improve, so Latifi is out in qualifying 1. Probably still going to drop a bit. Albon doesn't go faster in sector 2. We'll have to watch Norris's time as he crosses the line now. Stroll as well to see if Latifi is on the back of the grid. But it is at least a back row start for Nicholas Latifi. So we have Albon coming around the last corner now. He is in the drop zone, so he needs to improve. He does not improve, and it is 18th and 20th for us as Magnussen goes. No, sorry, 19th and 20th for us as we'll get to see where Magnussen's grid penalty puts him, but that's kind of what we expected. There's no ifs or buts about that. We were never really going to be much of a contender in terms of qualifying straight away, but it's still a bit of a gut punch. We were 9/10 of a second away from the safety with Albon, and a second and a half away with Latifi. Or sorry, no, yeah, about a second and a half away from Latifi. So the pace just isn't there with the car at the minute. We kind of knew that would be the case. The upgrades should hopefully fix some of that, not all of it, obviously, but it just needs to be the case that we need to get better. That's the long and short of it. So we'll see. We'll jump forward to just before the start of the race as I do the strategy setup and things like that. Also see what the final qualifying grid looks like. So we're here at the end of qualifying and just before the race, and we will see that the top 3 for our race, the usual suspects: Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz, followed by Perez. Bottas with a really, really good qualifying performance to get ahead of both Mercedes in 5th place. We have Hamilton, Gasly, Russell, Alonso, and Ocon rounding out the top 10. No real massive surprises there in terms of car performance. Everyone's kind of where you'd expect. And McLarens are not a great car right now. The AlphaTauri, Pierre kind of carries that team a little bit in terms of the performance. So Tsunoda getting knocked out in Q2 is not that much of a shock. And Magnussen just narrowly missing out on Q3 as well. So I've already done the strategy. I'm going for the same strategy for both teams, just shuffled, or both drivers, sorry, and just shuffled about a bit. So I'm going to start with Latifi on the hards and just let him batter away, and then go medium soft. And I'm going to kind of do the reverse of that for Albon, where I'm doing medium, hard, soft, and I just want Albon to push like crazy on those softs at the end to just try and do as much damage as he can and get as high up the grid as possible. Hopefully safety cars are kind of likely here. We get that data in the reports, I believe. Circuit info, historic results. No, there definitely is a way of seeing this. Is it pre-race reports? Maybe not. Oh, there we go. Time consideration. Safety car deployments over the last 4 seasons. There has been a decent amount. So Bahrain is typically maybe known for having the odd safety car too, and we hopefully might be able to take advantage of that. But all that's left to do is to hand it over to Crofty to lead us in to the race. Let's do this. This is going to be rough.
It's a cloudy night tonight, but otherwise the weather looks good for the race. Here we have Alexander Albon. With their starting position in the back 10, they'll have their work cut out for them. Next up for the team, it's Latifi. They'll be starting the race from the bottom half of the grid, so there's a fair bit of ground to make up. The teams are ready to go. Here we go with the Bahrain Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
So here we go, the run into turn 1. Albon on the soft tires, a bit weaker than the guys around him here. Or sorry, Albon on the medium tires, a bit weaker than the guys around him on the soft tires, but hopefully we'll be able to make that time up. Latifi going up the inside, but quickly loses a lot. All those places, in matter of fact. So Albon stays ahead of him. We still ride 19th and 20th. We're going to be in a race with these Aston Martins. I know that much. So it's going to be a race between us and the Aston Martins, and maybe picking up the scraps off any incidents, racing incidents, any crashes or spins that happen, and maybe overtaking those people as well. So for the first lap, I'm just going to let the drivers gun it, drain the battery, drain as much fuel as they need to, hurt the tires as much as they have to, and then I'll lower all that stuff after the first lap. Albon getting a decent run here on Lance Stroll. Will he be able to send it up the inside? He does, and that puts Albon up to 18th. Just what we need. Was that Stroll locking up as well? Or is that someone else locking up? What's the yellow flag for? Oh, that's a Ferrari! That is the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz locking up!
From Williams. Let's take a look at the replay. Okay, here's the Ferrari.
He's locked up, and that is Sainz right to the back of the grid, already potentially ruining his race. We will take that any day of the week.
Looks like there's been a lockup.
Albon just needs to now focus on getting past Vettel. We know Sainz will probably tear ass through this field once he kind of gets back on track and back up to the back of the pack. But that is Albon going past Vettel as well. Fantastic. That is exactly what we need to just keep that going. We'll drop all these stats down so we're not completely ruining our race. And hopefully that means we can stay ahead of Vettel now and focus on getting on the back of Mick Schumacher. So with Albon, we need to focus on hopefully staying in the DRS range of Mick Schumacher ahead of us for this. So I'm actually going to let Albon deploy more of his battery, because one, that'll help with staying away from Vettel, and it'll hopefully keep us in shooting range of Mick Schumacher, because the DRS is very powerful in F1 Manager, I've found out. So hopefully getting into that DRS range and being part of this train, which seems to involve pretty much everyone at this stage, judging by the timings, will be very, very useful. I just need to make sure that Albon stays on that and make sure he can stay in that DRS train and hopefully keep Sebastian Vettel behind him. But Vettel is holding pace quite strongly as it stands. Latifi falling back a bit, knew that would happen. As long as he can keep Stroll behind him, I think that's a successful race for Latifi. And Sainz will probably just breeze past the both of them once they get on the straights, especially with the DRS. So we are 9/10 of a second, 8/10 of a second. Now the time is slowly falling, thankfully. And once this lap starts, we now have DRS. So going up the second straight after the first couple of corners, we should have DRS to make a run on Mick Schumacher and keep us in touch with him, which would be very handy. And hopefully that means we can start saving our battery a bit more and not just deploying it fully every single time. And Vettel has fallen back from us a bit, which is very good. That means the DRS for him won't be effective. He won't be able to activate it, and we'll hopefully, using the DRS of Mick, or using our DRS that we'll get from being close to Mick, we'll hopefully be able to drop Vettel fairly easily. We'll set Albon back to our neutral deployment of the ERS, and hopefully that means we can just kind of ease up to the back of Mick. We'll keep that, build it up a bit, and hopefully be able to use the overtake to get ahead of Mick in a couple of laps time. So Latifi has just lost the position to Sainz there. That's to be expected. And the Stroll. So now Latifi is now sitting at the back of the grid. That would look like maybe a double overtake there. Yeah, Latifi pulls over, and both of them with their DRS just breeze past Latifi. A bit of a switchback there by Latifi to maybe try and get the race in line, but against the Ferrari, that race in line means absolutely nothing. So I think Latifi's in for a lonely race at the back of the grid, to be perfectly honest, but that's fine. We expected that. Hopefully he'll just be able to bring home, and maybe if people pit, maybe we can use Latifi to actually hold them up a bit, which would be quite nice, and that means Albon will maybe be a better position for when he does pit, and he'll be able to make use of an undercut. But as it stands, Albon is actually falling back from Mick. Once we're not deploying that ERS, we just don't have the speed. Even when we were in the DRS zone, we didn't have the speed. So Albon is just slowly falling back from this kind of racing pack and the snake that's kind of developing. So I have fast forward a bit here. We're now about 2 laps later. Noticing that Sainz is not maybe tearing through the field as quick as I would have assumed. Like, the fact we're now 6 laps in, he's only P18 is probably very disappointing for him. He would expect to, I don't know, at least be on the back of maybe this racing pack here that kind of, is that running for you? Kind of runs from Magnussen to Mick Schumacher. On our race front, we are worrying about Sebastian Vettel. He has slowly brought down that gap. So until then, I have Alexander Albon harvesting his ERS. So we can hopefully use that to defend a little bit as he comes into the DRS zone. But Vettel's racecraft in this game is very good, so keeping him behind might be a bit of a challenge. He doesn't have the DRS yet, I don't believe. So maybe another lap or two, but we need to focus on just getting as much battery into Albon's pack as possible and making sure that we can use that to defend. That is Sainz now, just coming up very close to us. He's easily dispatched Vettel, and he should probably easily dispatch us now as well. And now we have to worry about Vettel, so I'm going to switch to defend now and hope that I didn't do that too late and that Albon has enough battery to keep Vettel behind him for a lap or two at least. These guys on the soft tires will probably be pitting, I don't know, probably about lap 15 or so. We do have the estimated strategies here. So yeah, about lap 15 to 21, these people in the softs. Well, anywhere from lap 13. So if we can keep Vettel behind us until then, that would be a great start, but we don't know how that'll work, if that'll work, full stop. On the other side of it, Latifi has got back past Stroll. He's slowly been able to claw that back and get back ahead of him. We're not too worried about Albon's fuel. I'm expecting to be lapped, so I'm going to get a free lap of fuel at the end of this race, I would assume. If I'm not, I'm going to be very worried. But as it stands, Latifi and Stroll are kind of having their own wee race, which is fine. Albon just needs to focus on keeping Vettel behind him by using as much battery as possible. We'll get a bit of DRS off Sainz here, hopefully, which should help our defense. So hopefully our front or rear wing flicks open here, and that should help us defend. But we have tore through that battery on Albon, which means we are going to be kind of sitting ducks on this second straight, you would say. Oh, I forgot. Oh, yeah, so there is DRS in the second straight. So, if we can keep Sainz in touching distance through this sector and down this third straight with DRS, then that would be good. A car has ran wide. Who would that be? It doesn't look like it's too major. There doesn't seem to be anyone tumbling down the rankings, which is good. It was Lewis Hamilton running up in... Just... Oh! Calling that running wide is maybe generous. He didn't exactly... Oh, it's a shock and awe. Hamilton made a mistake. More importantly, back to Albon. We get the DRS again. No, we've actually lost the DRS from Sainz here, so that means Vettel is going to overtake us, right? I'm going to stick Albon on Harvest, knowing that this medium stint is probably going to be a bit of a wash now. We'd like to keep Vettel as close as possible, but that just might not be possible. So we focus on just making the most out of this stint, and then the hard stint for Albon will just be damage control, and hopefully then he's in a decent position to make up a couple places with the soft stint at the end. So I'll fast forward a bit here, come back for any potential overtakes or changes in the strategy. So we come back, we've had our first round of pit stops by a couple of competitors, likes of Perez, Bottas, Alonso have all pitted. Stroll as well, one of our main contenders right now, is pitted. I'm assuming a lot of these guys, we'll go to tire history here. A lot of people started on the... I feel like, yeah, were we outliers? Yeah, we were the only people that didn't start on the soft, which was interesting. We'll need to see what the likes of... Perez has come back out on the mediums. Sainz has pitted and come out on the... Is that the mediums as well? Or the hard, sorry. Alonso the hard, Gasly the hard. So it seems like all these guys are probably likely to go soft, hard, medium, which will suit both of us because it means we'll suit both our drivers because it means we'll be on the faster tire towards the end compared to the other competitors around us. Other than that, there hasn't been much change.
We want to leave court, please.
There's been no real changes in our position, our strategy, just our drivers sticking to it. But we are coming up soon to Albon's pit window, which I think is about lap 22. Is where he'll swap to the hard tires. We'll make sure we charge the battery leading up to that, and we'll make sure that we are ready to just kind of push on that and can make the most out of those fresh sets of rubbers we'll have.
Oh, big lock up there.
Oh, big lockup according to Crofty. Here we go. Oh, that is quite wide. He's not even on the camera there. Tsunoda has had a couple of instances in that interim period where I was a bit fast forwarding. He really struggled with the pressure from Sainz, so we'll see what he does. Probably fast forward now to Albon's pit stop because I can't see much else happening. We are running our own race right now, to be honest. So we've entered Albon's pit window here. He is actually saving his tires a bit better than projected, so I'm going to let him go a bit more aggressive with the tires. And then we'll keep the battery for now, and we'll burn the battery when it comes to the when it comes to the actual new sets of tires we put on. Latifi is a bit on, he is pretty much on par with the projected tire wear, which is fine. If Albon gets to burn up his tires a little bit, he might pull up to the back of Magnussen. Magnussen is also on the medium, so he pit. He must have pitted because everyone started on the soft, so we do have a bit of a difference in strategy now developing. Some people have went soft medium, some people went soft hard, which is fine. We are the only two cars that haven't pitted yet. Our strategy is very different to everyone else, which is fine, kind of what we expected. So we'll see how this run up to Albon's pit goes, and hopefully, I don't think we're in the position to maybe jump anyone. If we can pit and stay ahead of Vettel and Stroll by a bit of a margin, that would be nice, but you lose about 20 seconds in a pit stop, so we'll definitely, I think, keep ahead of Stroll. Vettel, we'll need to see how well Albon does if he starts pushing. So this is the stop, or this is the projected stop for Albon. We will indeed actually tell him to stop. Actually, I want to check. So Albon does have another fresh set of mediums available. I don't like, well, these mediums have lasted, what, 22 laps? I could maybe get another 2 laps out of them. That would be 44 overall, which would take us to about where we need to be for the soft tires. So I'm actually thinking maybe for Albon, we go soft. Or sorry, medium for Albon. We maybe call an audible here and let him go maybe even just a lap or 2 longer on these. And then go to the medium again and finish up on the soft. That might be the better play for Albon. Like, these tires aren't degrading as fast as we thought, even when we go aggressive. So it does mean we can kind of push a bit further, stay on better tires, and make sure that we are just having as much speed as possible when we need it. So we are coming down the penultimate straight at Bahrain here. We are looking at Albon about to come into the pits. He has been dueling Tsunoda this whole lap. Hopefully it's not that bad. He's going to fly into the pits here, and we hopefully, fingers crossed, get a decent pit stop out of the Williams pit garage. So we're not looking at getting ahead of Vettel here. He's coming onto the final straight here. It would be quite impressive if we manage to stay ahead of Vettel. We'll hopefully definitely stay ahead of Stroll. Even if I can tell Latifi to hold up Vettel a bit, that'd be really good. And I'll even tell Latifi to defend with his ERS, so he just keeps Vettel behind him. And that means, hopefully that means Albon will just be able to cruise up to the back of Vettel, overtake him fairly easily, and just take him out and get that 18th place. I'll go to deploy with
You can afford to drop back.
Albon, and let's go.
Yep, copy.
Yeah, so we're probably on the cusp of that. 30% is the kind of the tire condition where you start to feel the issues, or you have the risk of running an issue. We're going to hold up Vettel as best we can with Latifi before he is due to pit at the end of the next lap, and hopefully that lets Albon cruise up to the back of him with his fresher tires. Vettel is on the mediums as well, so that's not too bad. His will probably be a bit older, obviously. His mediums aren't currently 6 laps older. That's fine. Just need Latifi to do his job as best as possible here. Use the ERS to stay ahead of Vettel and back him all the way up to Albon, who is slowly gaining on him. About 3/10 there in the first sector and a half. We'll see how much he starts gaining through these other sectors as he gets to deploy even more of his ERS. We'll even let him push a bit more with the fuel. We're 2 laps up, so
We think you can reduce lifting coast. Copy.
So you see there, Albon is flying now in terms of getting up to the back of Vettel. He won't, unfortunately, hit the DRS this lap, but hopefully Latifi can keep Vettel behind him. We know Latifi is going to stop now, go on to the mediums. Don't want to mess with Latifi. He seems pretty much on par with the projected tire wear, so don't want to fiddle with his stats too much, or his pit stats too much. We don't want Latifi to fight Albon if the case comes, but at least now Albon has managed to get right onto the back of Vettel and should be able to use the DRS to try and get past him with the better Fresher tires, using his deploy, even being able to push the engine a bit harder in terms of the fuel. Probably need to take that off soon. The fuel is a bit wonky in this game.
Increase.
But even with the ERS, hopefully just the ERS itself will be enough to get Albon past Vettel. And that's it. That is the overtake done on Vettel, I think. Yep, that is Albon passing both of them. And yeah, unfortunately, Latifi kind of got overtaken there, but we can't control that, unfortunately. But that's fine. That is Albon ahead of Vettel. It's exactly what we wanted. Latifi did his job perfectly. And now, hopefully, Albon should be able to just fly off up the road, get out of the once, or get ahead of Vettel by a second to stop the DRS. So I am just filling a bit with Latifi, or Albon's strategy here to know where he kind of needs to come back in. So we're looking at a pit stop around lap 44 to put us onto the soft tires for the end of the race. We've kind of called that audible to change things up. We are still fighting Vettel here. He does have DRS, which is unfortunate. Albon has used most of his battery, but hopefully we will keep him behind just with the fresher tires. Latifi's pit stop is at 2.9 seconds. That's fine. He's just going to sit at the back of the grid now. He's about to be lapped probably within the next 3 to 4 laps, you would say. And then Albon just needs to keep this fight up with Vettel.
This was the Aston Martin.
So yeah, we just lost the place to Vettel, unfortunately. I think the Aston Martin is generally a slightly better car than us, and Vettel is, of course, a former world champion, so he is a decently rated driver in this game. I'm not too worried. I think our last stint is where we're really going to start pushing forward and hopefully be able to make up a lot of time. Other than that, we just need to keep things going, keep it steady, and keep the cars on the track. Finishing the race is my main priority in these early races, so we'll see how that goes. So we're about to enter both drivers' pit window. We are going to pit Latifi. He can go on to the softs as expected. There should be no issues there.
Box.
He has been harvesting that whole time, which is a mistake on my part. And I'll let him push the tires as hard as he wants here. Albon will be pitting in 3 laps time, so I'll even let him push the tires a bit more. He's not really using much of his battery at the minute. We want to save that for the soft tires when they arrive. We did see, while we were fast forwarding there, Vettel has pitted again. I think most of the pack has pitted for their second pit stops. Russell hasn't, so Stroll hasn't, who we're still kind of racing. Vettel has pitted again, so it's important to try and get out ahead of him, or at least close by him, so that when we do pit, or when after we on the soft tires, we can just fly right past him. Russell hasn't pitted yet, up in 3rd, which is quite interesting. What strategy has he gone? Russell has went soft medium, but he's made these medium tires last much longer than anybody else by the looks of it. Unless he peels into the pits now, that would be quite a long stint. He does seem to be peeling into the pits now. So Stroll has just entered the pits as well. Latifi should be coming into the pits at the end of this lap. Albon is still pushing. He'll pit at the end of the next lap, and that'll put him on the soft tires. We're just trying to... He's on fast now. He just can just eke out these tires, or burn through these tires, even not even eke anything out. He's burning through these tires to try and get as high up the pace as possible. He has been lapped, I believe, or he might be lapped here. He's coming up to being lapped again. He was unlapped in the pit stops, but we'll get some of that time back in terms of the time. We'll follow Latifi as he goes into the pits here, watch the team at work. So, clean pit stop, 2.8, that's good. As good as it can be expected. Latifi is probably going to have a lonely race here. He is, what is it? Where's the intervals? He's 29 seconds behind Stroll. If he can make up 29 seconds, fuck it, I'll give him a new contract. But as it stands, I think Latifi is maybe going to be settling for a 20th place in this race. Albon is now our main concern. He's entered the optimal pit window. We will pit him now for the softs. Some nice fresh rubber for him to come in and hopefully make some ground up. He's 29 seconds ahead of Vettel. Hopefully when he pits, he should come out ahead of Vettel, and that should secure us a nice 17th place. Not amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but with realistic expectations, that is what we would expect at this point of the season, unfortunately. This is Albon now coming into the final pit straight. He's going to pull into the pits. We'll see how this pit goes, and we'll see where we are coming out the other end of it. Hopefully the team doesn't mess this up. I think that's Vettel there coming on to the penultimate straight in a couple of seconds. So we should come out well clear of him, I would say. I think the average pit lane loss is about 23 seconds under normal racing conditions, so Vettel should be nowhere near us. We will be lapped though by Perez and Hamilton, and probably Bottas, and probably have to deal with Sainz soon coming up our ass. But Sainz has done a good recovery drive here. I think coming up to 6th from where he was is pretty good. We've actually made it out ahead of Hamilton, so I'm not expecting to stay ahead of him for too long, but we will push these tires as best I can, get the deploy out so we can just go as fast as possible and make sure that we have Vettel far in our memories. We're 40 seconds behind Tsunoda. That's likely not going to get much shorter, but it'd be nice to see when we are going full pelt of how many seconds we can pull out in there. So I'll fast forward now. We'll see where we are towards the end of this race as we enter the final 10 laps. So we've just come on to the final lap here of the race. Albon passes the finish line for the final time. We are very questionable on fuel, so I actually might let Albon conserve for the final lap just to make sure we make it. In terms of the time to Tsunoda, it fluctuated a bit as we were coming up through or getting lapped. It never went below about 37 seconds, so the speed just isn't there. Even when we can go full pelt, the speed just doesn't seem to be there, which is unfortunate. But hopefully the upgrades we have coming for the next race, not the next race, but the next race probably you will see, will make things a little bit faster for us. Oh, and Albon is just logged up. What are you doing? Oh, that's unfortunate.
They're forced wide, and they won't be happy.
Hopefully, I think we had a decent enough gap on Vettel that Albon should just be able to come onto the road again and not worry about it. Yeah, Vettel is 18 seconds behind us. That's nothing. We're fine.
And that's the lockup.
Yeah, I know. I saw it live, dude. Come on, calm down. So what can I take from this race? I take that we are easily the worst car. I think Albon is maybe dragging this car to a better position just from his... Oh, let's just see Leclerc cross the line here, by the way. Oh, that is... Oh, Leclerc just about crossing the line ahead of Verstappen. That is like 0.2 of a second in that, if even. That was so close. Holy crap. So, fair play to Charles Leclerc. Much like real life, he wins the Bahrain Grand Prix. For us, it's a bittersweet 17th and 20th. I think that's as best as could be expected for us, to be honest. We weren't ever looking like we were going to be the best car. We were never looking like we were going to be anywhere near challenging for decent points. We're going to need, if it's going to happen in any race, it's going to need to be one that is very disrupted with the likes of rain and with the likes of safety cars. But for now, 17th and 20th, I think getting Albon ahead of those two Aston Martins is very important. It does show that we, in a race, are maybe the better car than them. Just qualifying, we're not there yet in speed. But 17th and 20th is probably the best we can expect right now in any of these races going forward until the next time we come back. In terms of the rest of the standings, we see Leclerc in first, Verstappen and Perez following him. Sainz with a great recovery drive to come back in fourth after spinning out in the first lap. Bottas held on to fifth ahead of the two Mercedes of Hamilton and Russell. Alonso finishing in 8th, Gasly 9th, and Guan Yu Zhou in his rookie race coming in to finish 10th and get a point. Ricciardo doing decently and slightly salvaging his race to finish 11th, Ocon 12th, Norris, Magnussen, Mick Schumacher, Tsunoda, Albon, Vettel, Stroll and Latifi make up the rest of the non-points finishers. So, a disappointing race. Well, disappointing in terms of action and things like that, but as much as we probably expected in terms of what we wanted out of this race.
This was a mixed performance.
We're better than the Aston Martins in a race, not in qualifying, and it seems like Albon's racecraft and his stats are enough to push us ahead of them when it comes to actually racing. So we'll need to make sure we work on that. We do have upgrades coming down the line that do help with some of our weaker areas. I think with one of our upgrades we were due to be the 10th fastest car in terms of high-speed corners, which would be very good because I think there's a lot of the tracks have come more high-speed focused rather than low-speed focused, so that's a nice area to focus on right now. So yeah, there's the standings as we saw. We'll look at the drivers, much to be expected. 17th, 18th, and in terms of constructors, 4 constructors not scoring points, which is decent for us because we want as many to not score points as possible, so that if we can luck into a points finish, we do jump up as many spots as possible. We stay ahead of Aston Martin, which is nice. We're aiming, personally, I'm aiming for probably 8th place this season. I think anything more than that might be more due to luck than ability or the ability of the car. In terms of drivers, I would hope that we start scoring points at some point, or at least get decent points in a couple of races due to the chaos that ensues. But I will see you at the other side of all these race results, and we'll discuss what's happening next time. So we're at the other side of the race. Apparently there was a suspension being manufactured before we even got to the team, so that's handy. I don't know, let's see how much better that actually is. We see that in terms of grid performance. It's not much better. It really don't do much. But you know, we'll stick that on. Sorry, Albon's car is 2, isn't it? Yeah, Latifi's number 1 as far as I'm aware. So we'll stick that on. We'll stick that on. Sorry, I like completely lost my train of thought there. We'll stick that on Albon's car, and we'll start manufacturing 3 more, just so we have a couple of backups. The other stuff, like race report, fine. The board thinks we did a great job, so 17th is apparently a great job. Fantastic. And the push race debrief, we're seeing that our braking and just we have issues with the car. We're aware of that. Nothing in that is going to change. So I said before, we do have a couple of parts being manufactured, or sorry, being designed, and they are 28 and 49 days. So in terms of 49 days away, can I see where that is? 49 days takes us up to the Miami, or just before them, or just after the Miami Grand Prix and into the Spanish Grand Prix. So that seems like a good place to come back. We'll have those upgrades. They will be hopefully substantial and hopefully give us a bit more to do during a race where we can be a bit more pacey and a bit more racy and start taking the fight to some of the teams above us. So in the meantime, I will do the rest of these races and we will come back next week for the Spanish Grand Prix in 60 days in game, 7 days hopefully for in real life. But for now, thank you for tuning into the first episode of this brand new series. It's been a blast. I've been really excited to do this whole time, and hopefully we take Williams back to where I feel like personally they should be in the Drivers' Championship, and that is at the top of the grid. For now, it is goodbye from myself, Mr. Team Principal, and I shall see you in Spain.